Hey, Nico.
What's going on, man?
How are you?
Good. You?
I'm good, man. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. 2 seconds. I always have to reset everything every time I change platforms because
No
this is
worries.
shitty camera. There's no way. There we go.
Right on.
So, how you
Well,
doing?
everything's good, man. Where are you coming out of?
Right now, I'm in Alabama. Been here
Okay.
for about a week, but I'm all over the place, man. We've been traveling the U.S. for a year now, just over a year. We've
Okay.
been 22 states. So,
Well, that's good. That leads into my first question. It's a good sign with, kind of getting out of this whole COVID thing and people are getting out and about and things are opening up. So that's a good thing.
there's no such thing as COVID down south.
Yeah,
Like
right. You're right. There is
they
not.
they don't talk about this. It's a north problem.
Yeah, it
It is
is.
not a south problem at all. Not something that's in. I haven't heard anybody throughout my travels that really talked about it.
Okay. So it's a Yankee epidemic pretty much. Um
Yeah, yeah. People tend to be more. I'm from Canada, and we left Canada because we didn't like where the politics were going.
yeah.
And you look at this, and whoever's connected to the border seems to be duplicating what Canada is doing. And in Canada, we're all scared. Everybody's scared of everything. Everybody's paranoid about everything. So they tend to worry about things that they don't control. But it seems that I don't know if it's ignorance that it's not like that in the South. They just don't care. I think they
Yeah.
just don't care. They really just don't care.
Yeah, it's not on their radar. Everything's different. I mean, a lot of people that I've talked to in Florida, when I ask, how did you get through this? It's like, yeah, we just didn't have the restrictions. Things weren't going
No.
on the way they were everywhere else. So I guess that's my question for you. How did you get through that 3 year time period? Obviously, you went through changes geographically. How did you get through it? And how has it changed you now?
You know, in back in 2020, in March 2020, when this whole thing happened, I lived alone. I was on the island of Montreal, which is one of the biggest cities in Canada,
Yeah.
and I was a sales engineer. I was in the corporate world. I was there because I was meeting customers day in, day out, right? Put a suit on and I was in front of customers. Then when this whole thing happened, the government basically closed down face-to-face meetings. So they did not want people, they called it your bubble. So if somebody wasn't in your bubble, if somebody wasn't in like the space in which you live, they would prevent you, or restrict you would be a better word, to seeing them.
Yeah.
And so my job went ahead and they said, we're not going to meet customers dated face to face anymore. We'll do everything on Zoom. We'll do everything on Teams. So I got rid of my place in the city, and about 3 years prior to that, I had the urge to buy an investment property in the middle of nowhere. So think log house, middle, like top of a mountain, middle of nowhere. The the view from the living room is astonishing. We're at top of the mountain. It's a valley, lakes, and all that stuff. So I said, you know what? I took my dog and we left the city, and I went to live in the country. And when I say country, we're talking middle of nowhere where you can walk your dog without a leash on the main path.
Yeah.
And I stayed there for 2.5 years. I
Wow.
got completely away from that craziness. I built, yeah, I'm unvaccinated, so I wasn't able to go to gyms. I was not able to teach martial arts anymore. I couldn't go anywhere except grocery store and pharmacy. So I built myself a gym. I turned my living room into a gym, and all I did is plan my exit from the corporate world, because soon after that I started getting threatened by my job to say, if you don't get vaccinated, we're going to have to fire you. And you know what? I don't care that you're vaccinated or not. I don't really care what your stance on it is. To if you want to get vaccinated, that's on you. If you did it because you thought that was the best thing, all the power to you. But I don't like when somebody that's not in good shape tells me that I need to get vaccinated when I'm in better physical shape than 99.99% of 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
I know what's best for me, all the respect to everybody, but I think I'm a libertarian, right? I like to let live, and worry about your own problems, and what regards me, I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't control what happened, but I'm like, you know what? I'll isolate myself away from people and I'll figure out what comes next. And Took me 2.5 years, and I figured out my exit, and now I've left my corporate job about a year ago. Well, actually, basically a year ago, like 5 days ago, it was a year. I left the corporate world, and I started my own business a year ago, and we've been traveling the U.S. in an RV, my girlfriend and I, ever since.
So let's get to the essence of what you do for a living now. If I put you
Yeah,
in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day and one of the kids looks up and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I help content creators put their content out there.
Okay. So
If my elevator pitch is what you're looking for, I really show content creator how to take subpar content, use NLP and sales tactics to build a better message, because most content creator have a great idea, like they have the right the right mindset, they think about the right thing, their goal is to help people, but they don't know how to package the message. And I'm not just talking marketing wise, I'm really talking how do you utilize a hook? Like at the
yeah,
beginning of your video, most people don't understand that we have lost 20% to 25% of our attention span over the past 20 years. We have the attention span of about four to studies say 6 seconds, but I can tell you from the amount of videos I put out there, I would argue that it's probably 3 or 4. If you don't hook people within the first 3, 4 seconds of your video, people don't care. People
yeah,
will skip. So you need to know how to speak about your subject without giving it away, but by being exciting and not just screaming in your camera, right? A lot of people do that, but you have to put a lot of intelligence. And I also build funnel with people, as in there's types of videos out there, like look at reaction videos. Reaction videos are the most popular videos, and they're the easiest one to do. They take basically no time. It
yeah,
takes me more time to put a good title together, to find the right hashtag, to have a right description, than it does to post the video.
yeah.
It's just, but right now it's so to a science that about every 2 weeks I have a reaction video that hits 1 million views.
Wow.
But people don't understand that how powerful that is, because I can tell you how many people will follow you from that reel. So you're using a super easy type of content to funnel people down, and people don't understand what call for actions are. They just post to post without really knowing and understanding how social media works. And TikTok doesn't work the same as Instagram, doesn't work the same as Facebook, doesn't work the same as YouTube. They all have things you can say, some you can't. TikTok is the most restrictive of them all, and Instagram tends to be the more lenient. But
Yeah,
as men, if you don't have a pair of breasts and you're not ready to expose yourself, it's very hard for men to grow a platform with an intelligent message. And those are the people I want to help. I really want to help the people that have a good message, that just don't know how to put it into words properly. They don't know how to market it properly. They don't even understand their niche. They don't understand their pain. They don't understand what keeps them up at night. Their branding sucks. And this is what I help them with. But I also, the whole point is to be repeatable. Like I'm at to a point right now, like I have a video as we speak that's going viral. Like it's just, I posted it this morning. I knew it would go there. I knew it. I absolutely was. Once I found it, I finished editing it. I'm like, oh, hells yes. Oh, hell yes. This is going to be good. And it's going super well on TikTok and on Facebook. But this is not by accident. I had another one go viral that hit 1.2 million last week.
yeah.
I have another one from 3 weeks ago that's reaching 4.4, 5.4 million views. So this is something I'm constantly able to repeat. And that's what I want people. I want to teach people how to do this, how to do the research. I don't just find the video and magically it happened. It took me 3 hours this morning to find that video, edit it the way I wanted it, and making the right song, having the right intelligence behind it, right?
Yeah.
And this is
So
what I want. I want to help. I want to build an army of content creators that are helping others. You change the world one person at a time. And
yeah,
this is what I
absolutely.
have in mind. This is all I think about. How can I help others change the world? That's it.
So when you were in the third grade, what did you want to be when you grew up?
No idea. I don't remember any of those years.
Yeah.
No idea.
So let's go back to your childhood. What were some of the seeds that were put into you to get into sales, to get into content creation, and to help people?
None. None whatsoever. It
Yeah.
does not. It funny enough, this whole thing came out of people putting me on the spot. I've always been the type of guy that goes for his fears. If something scares me, I'm the type of person to say, "Okay, let's do it." Not
Yeah.
because I know deep down I need to, because it's a limitation. And quite often, like, I'm a deep sea diver. I'm an advanced deep sea diver. It is something, the first few, my certification was brutal. It was a nightmare. I couldn't breathe underwater. I was paranoid. I felt claustrophobic. But then now it's one of my favorite things to do. It has turned into, I can be underwater and meditating. Like, to me, it's a meditation.
Yeah.
Same thing as when I was fighting. I never had any intentions of fighting. All I wanted to do is not be a victim anymore and know how to defend myself. Then my coach is like, "Hey, bro, you need to fight. You got what it takes to fight, so fight." I knew that because it scared me, I had to do it. So of course, I did it. So
Yeah.
my whole life has been like that. So it's one thing led to another, led to another. And I was doing tech support. I stopped school. I was 15 years old when I dropped out of school, and I did a lot of drugs. I sold drugs. I did all the wrong things for a very long time until the beginning of my 20s. And when I went back to school, I got a high school degree, and now I'm like, what can I do? And I knew 20 years ago that technology wasn't going anywhere. I've been on a computer since I can remember. I was building computers when I was probably 8 or 10 or 12 years old, right? And to me, it just made sense. Not that I have a passion for it, it's just that I'm very good at it. Naturally, I'm very gifted with technology. And I just figured it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I started in a call center fixing other people's internet. And 10 years later, somebody was putting a suit on me saying, "You need to get out the tech support, and we're going to put you in front of customers to take very complicated technical solutions, and you're going to sell them to people that might not be technical. Maybe they are, but chances are they're not." So it's just a constant evolution of, I always try new things. Like, my friend, and I apologize for my language, but my friend tells me that all the time. I'm the type of guy that throws a lot of shit at the wall.
Yeah.
And whatever, my girlfriend, it drives my girlfriend nuts because
Yeah.
I'm always trying, always trying, always trying. But she's like, "Yeah, but you stop doing this, you stop doing that." I'm like, "Yeah, of course, but look how good I am at this now. Look
Yeah.
how good I am at that." And I love to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah. For sure. Who's been a hero for you in your life?
I don't have any. Like, not in a way where he, like, my father was not there when I was younger, and he left when I was 14, so he wasn't my hero. I've had idols, like, if you look at a Jean-Claude Van Damme, for example. When I was a kid, that guy was a god to me.
Yeah.
And over the years, when I went into martial art, it's because of him, right? At the end of the day, that's where it came from. Was he a hero? No, because I don't know how he is in real life. I don't know if he's a good guy or not. All I
Yeah.
know is that he had a massive influence on me. But I would say my mentor. Like, I've met a guy about 7 or 8 years ago on a diving trip in Belize, and this dude is just absolutely amazing. So successful, has made so much money, comes from a very extremely poor family, gives so much time back to his community, both in money and in time. He's just an absolute inspiration. Is he a hero? I don't know if he's a hero, because he's kind of my friend. On top of being, we have a very weird relationship in him and I. So, do I look up to him? Absolutely. Absolutely. He's one of the greatest men I've ever met. But is he a hero? I don't know. That's a good question.
So, what is your motivation every day? To get out of bed, to do what you do, to help people out, to travel? What is that for you?
Motivation, and I don't. Is your podcast content explicit? Like, is
Oh,
where the
yeah, I can say, yeah, you can let it fly.
okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, you're good.
I try to be careful, but I don't fucking believe in motivation. Motivation is bullshit.
Yeah,
What you need is discipline.
right.
Motivation's attached to your emotions. The days you're doing well, you're going to be motivated. But guess what? The days you don't feel like doing something, motivation's out the door. And the best example is, look at New Year's resolutions. I think they say it's 90 to 95% of people fail. And the bigger portion is between 50 and 70% of people fail within the first couple of weeks. And that's because they rely on motivation. So my motivation is crap. I'm like everybody. My emotions are like this, but my discipline's hard to beat. I normally do until my body tells me not to anymore.
So, what about client success stories? What's been one of your best client success stories? Something that always puts a smile on your face.
You know, it comes down to, it doesn't even come down to helping them with what their goals was. What I do it for, and it was the same when I taught martial art, it's the same when I had customers in my old job, is the same now, is there's a few opportunities in a relationship with a client where something clicks. Like you can see it in their eyes. You explain something to them and it just, the literal light bulb, and you know you changed their life right then and there. Their life will never be the same because now they understand. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter that it's a technique to grow your audience. It doesn't matter that it's a kick that you've been practicing with that person for months and they finally move their hips just the right way. It doesn't matter that it's a comment that you're making to someone to say, hey, have you ever thought about trying this? And then they're just, oh shit, I never thought about that. Those are the moments I do it with. Those are the success stories, and there's so many of them. I can't even begin. But if you've helped people, you know exactly that moment when somebody looks at you and they're like, their world will never be the same, and it's a hard line in the sand right there. You know, from now on, your life is different. Love those moments. That's the only reason I do it.
So, as somebody that goes after things that make most people afraid, what was the first thing you did that gave you that confidence to say that this is the way I want to live my life?
I think I've always been like that. I personally think I think this comes from my mother. Because from a young age, I didn't grow up in the city. I grew up in a super small town. We grew up doing shit. Like we were boys doing shit. I was always getting hurt. I've had so many surgeries over the years. I can recount scars more than I do interactions with people. And it's always been that way. I've always been, I think I'm an adrenaline junkie. At the end of the day, I think that something needs to pump my heart in order for me to feel alive. And it's been like that since I can remember. Just the fact that my mom would let me go explore in the woods, they would just like come back for supper type of deal. That's the relationship we had when I was a kid. And just always being exploring, always being looking at stuff. And it's always been that way. I've always done a lot of research. Like to this day, I probably spent 3 hours this morning just researching, just doing research as to what's going on. How can I make it better? What type of new content can I put out there? I'm always doing a lot of research and I never set boundaries. I think this is what's important. I don't have a box around me. There's nothing telling me that this is in which I will operate and I will keep within that box. I never had that box growing up. Nobody's ever told me you can and cannot do this. It's mostly if you do this, there'll be consequences and direct physical like okay, you can go play, oh sure, you can play baseball on asphalt, no problem. But guess what? If you're in your stupid mind, you don't remember that it's asphalt and you slide to one of the to the second from the first, you're gonna get injured. And believe I'm using this example because I did. I ripped my whole knee open, and guess what? You remember.
Yeah. Yeah. So, of all of the things that you've done in your life, all the things you've accomplished and overcome, what are you the proudest of?
None of it. I'm not somebody that's proud of my accomplishments at all. Zero. I don't think about them at all. It's pretty sad when you think about it. I don't celebrate my accomplishments and I'm not proud of them either because in my head, this was always the path I was on. Like, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that everything happens for a reason. Everything's been predetermined. As long as you put in the work, great things are going to happen. And, if you look at the Bible, Jesus said it was written. I live my life by it. Everything's been written already. I'm just not there yet. So
Yeah.
there's no glory doesn't come to me. Like proud does not come to me. Glory does not come to me. As soon as something cool happens to me, I reverse engineer it as soon as it happened. I don't celebrate it. I'm just like, oh, hold on. How did I do that? How did that happen? Rebuild the step, and I'm already thinking about the next thing. So I'm not saying this is healthy. I'm just saying that this is the way I am.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it. So everyone out there has a perception of you. Everybody sees you in a certain light. Family, friends, clients,
Yeah.
colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Eternal. I'm just an eternal student. That's all I am. You know, all I think about, I always think about the day I'm going to meet God, the day that I'm in front of the pearly gates and he has to, in uh, Egyptian mythology, God would weigh your heart. If it was lighter than a feather,
Mhm.
you could go in, you could be accepted in paradise. I've always loved that idea. I always think about it. And at the end of the day, all that matters to me is that I do more good than bad. When the day come, when my day of judgment comes, I want to know that I've changed people's life in a positive way and not in a negative way. I want to have a positive impact on people more than the negative.
So, as somebody that creates content, I mean, we're in a world right now where things can go viral. There's all kinds of things that are going on socially. What's
Hmm.
the most common misperception that clients have when they come to you? Something they think happens, but it doesn't. Something that just kind of, like you say, the light bulb goes off, their eyes
Yeah.
open up. What is that?
There's so many of them. Anything from they don't even know. There's a If you want people, if you want to be able to reach people, you want to be able to understand them. You want to know what keeps them at night, what keeps them up at night, what their issues are. Like if you're online, you're looking for something. Might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. It might be conscious, it might be unconscious. But the point in the matter is that there's a reason why you're there. So if you're trying to talk to that person, understand why they're there. Why are they online? What is the goal of their of them being there? Once you understand that, you don't need a lot of equipment. I do most of my videos with this. I have
Yeah,
thousands of dollars of video equipment, and do I use them? Sure, I do. But most of my content created right off my phone. I record off my phone. I don't even use external microphones most of the time. I clean it up right on an app on my phone. I add a bunch of overlay right off of my phone, sitting outside with a cigar. I do this every day. There's a massive misconception that you need thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment, but unless you're doing high-end photography, unless you're flying drones for B-rolls and stuff like that, you don't need much. And I don't even need with this, I don't even need a how do you call it? A gimbal anymore.
yeah,
The stabilization of the Pixel 7 that I use right now is so good. You just put it cinematic and you enable it. It's so smooth. You can go like this, it barely shows. So
yeah,
this probably is the second, and the third is how people undervalue sound. Everybody thinks that video is more important than sound, yet how many videos have you watched that is grainy as hell, that looks like shit, and you don't even care because the sound is clean? If the sound is clean, your video does not need to be epic. Should it? Absolutely. But the number one thing that people will hear is the sound. That's the number one thing, is the sound. How awesome is the quality of your sound? If your sound's
yeah,
garbage, I guarantee you nobody's going to listen to it.
yeah. So, of all of the states you've been through, you said 22. What's been the most surprising place that you've been to? One of the most memorable places?
Oh, I would say Tucson, Arizona. I can give you a city.
Yeah,
Tucson, Arizona is probably the one that was the most out of I've traveled a lot in my life, and Tucson, Arizona is it's so out of context for me as a Canadian that's used to nature, big trees. I had never seen 30, 40 feet tall cactuses before. Like
yeah,
you're in Tucson, you're on the highway, and there are forests of cactuses. And we're not talking like cactuses that are 3, 4 feet tall. We're talking about valleys and mountains covered in cactuses. And to me, that was mind blowing. Like we stayed in an RV park outside of the city of Tucson. Well, it was part of Tucson, but in a more very relaxed area where, and Tucson is surrounded by mountains. Like
yeah,
it's protected by walls of mountains. And we had the sunset in front of us every day. So you could sit outside, and I spend probably 4 or 5 hours every day outside with I have a very high-end laptop and I have a very cheap one. I have my cheap one on me and I'm working. I'm just doing the small things, but I'm always sitting outside. That's something I do every day. And sitting outside in that type of setup makes no sense. It makes no absolute sense to be able
yeah,
to have those cactuses everywhere. You're in the sand, you're in the desert. It's just very, very cool. Very,
yeah,
very cool indeed.
yeah,
Yuma too
absolutely.
was mind blowing. Yuma
Well,
was very different.
oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Small town at the edge of California and
Yeah.
Mexico.
Uh,
Very cool. Very.
yeah.
They're cool because you see them in movies all the time.
Yeah.
Like Yuma, people don't realize it, but every time you hear somebody escape to the Mexico or come from Mexico, break in the US in movies, it's always in Yuma.
Yuma.
It's
That's
always
good.
Arizona. It's always Yuma
That's
because
right.
we were in Mexico. We literally took the truck. We drove 10 minutes. We were at a border crossing that is walking. You park your car, you walk 2 seconds, you're in Mexico. The guy's like, "Can I look at your bag?" Yes, open your bag and pop, you're in Mexico.
Wow.
It's really, you can throw, I can sit there and throw shit on the other side of Mexico if I wanted to. Nobody cares. It's just right there and you go by, you just walk across.
Yeah, that's wild.
I love it.
So if anybody wants to hire you, learn more about you, anything about your world, where can they go?
They can go to nicolagan.com. They can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram at Real Nico Lagan, and on YouTube at Nico Lagan.
Nico, thank you so much for your story, man. Thanks for your time. I love it. Keep good travels, man. Stay safe out there.
Thanks a lot, brother. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Take care.